Good morning, I'm Chris Fox. Welcome to day 0 of the 21-day novel challenge. The actual challenge does not start until tomorrow, but I figured I would take the opportunity to give you a little preparation. So what you're going to see here are the tools that I am using for the challenge, and we're also going to walk through the pre-writing that I've done. So I have been working on the outline for Destroyer off and on over the last several weeks, and you're going to get to see how that preparation was done. If you would like a copy of the Scrivener document that you see referenced here in this video, I'm happy to provide it. All you need to do is sign up to the mailing list. You can find a link to that in the comments, and if you have questions, please feel free to also toss those in the comments and I'll answer those as soon as I can. So that said, let's get cracking. Let's take a look at the tools. Okay, so as promised, we're going to discuss the tools that we're using for the 21-day novel challenge. There are only 2, so we will keep this nice and short. The first of these 2 tools is the 5,000 words per hour app, which is available for the iPhone and the iPad through some developer wizardry. I am using it on my Mac currently. As you can see, I have an empty project here. So Destroyer is the title. Here's the cover of the book. We're at 0 of 70,000 words. What isn't apparent yet, but that you will see, is down here it'll tell me my hours to completion as soon as I start completing writing sprints. So how that's done is you click over here to the Writing Sprints tab, you set a timer for the desired length, hit start, and when it's over, you record the total number of words, and it's going to give you some stats on that sprint. So it'll tell you the number of words per hour, where you're at for lifetime words, and then of course record the individual sprint down here. So this app is very straightforward, but if you are not using an iPad or iPhone and you want to shadow the challenge, you can use a stopwatch and a spreadsheet and do exactly the same thing. So that is the first of the 2 apps. The second is this white and black icon over here. This is Scrivener. Scrivener is available for both Mac and PC. It's a wonderful writing app. It's not necessary for this challenge. If you would prefer, you can use any word processor that you choose and then sort of mimic the structure that you'll see in the next video. So I do recommend Scrivener, but if that's not something you want to do, don't let it stop you from writing. Use the tool set that is most comfortable for you. One of the number 1 questions that I have received from people curious about the challenge is, am I going into this cold or have I done any pre-writing? And the answer is I've done a lot of pre-writing. I am a heavy plotter. So to take a look at this project, here's Destroyer. This is the Scrivener document we're using. You can see that it was created on January 7th, which is a month and a half ago. So in that month and a half, I have put in probably 6 hours or so making notes and sort of crafting the plot. And I'm going to go ahead and show you each of the major portions of that work now. So it starts with the research area of a Scrivener document. You can create as many files as you wanted to, and I've created quite a few. Each one of these is a world-building document. So I'm talking about one of the pieces that make the world uniquely mine, like the Helios Gates, which you'll learn more about as we go through the story itself. And I put that information down here so that I have an easy reference for it, and I'm gradually sort of building in my head the universe so that I'm ready to write it. And these are kind of the broad strokes that I first start with. Once I have my initial research done, then I start working on characters. So I'm only going to show you one of these files. This is Captain Nolan. I have a little bit of base information about him. I have a picture that I pick out there. I just grab stock or maybe a star that I can think looks a lot like how I envision the character in my head. And in some cases, I don't even flesh it out and put information about that individual character because I don't necessarily need it. I need to know who they are and what they look like, and beyond that, I'm going to figure out how they fit in the plot based on things that you'll see me write above. So I've added my characters, I've got my research, then I move into the blurb. So traditionally, this is the last thing most writers will do when they're working on a book, but for me, it's the first. And this blurb, in the end, is not going to look anything like what goes live on Amazon, but by doing a version of the blurb, it gives me some idea of what I'm trying to accomplish with the story. So I start there. Once that's done, I jot down each of my point of view characters. These are the people who have a major role in the book. And then I get into the major plot arcs that I'm going to have to cover as we're going through the plot. And finally, I have a more rich synopsis that covers each of the acts, and as you can see, I use a traditional 3-act structure. So that's sort of the pieces that give me the overview for the story. And when I had gotten that far, then it was time to actually go through Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3 and do the individual scenes. So here's my first scene. You can see I only give it, maybe a paragraph of information about what's going to happen. And then I have a little section down here where I include the cast. So each person's name being down here tells me I need to keep their state, their mental state, stored in my own head. So I'm tracking 3 characters in the first scene. And then I also have the ship's command crew, who maybe won't say or do much, but are present and I need to be aware of. And then I'll just go chapter by chapter and write out this information. So when we're ready to do our first writing sprint, which you'll see me do tomorrow, I'm just going to hit enter a few times and start writing. And I'll write the entire scene beneath this, and then as soon as that's finished, I'll just move into the next document and do exactly the same thing. And I'm going to go through the entire book, and you're going to see each one of these acts fleshed out. So if you compare today's version of the file with tomorrow's, you'll notice that each one of these titles has probably changed. There may be a new scene or 2 that are interjected in here, and you could find, the further that we get in, that this changes radically. So for example, Act 3 only has 3 chapters listed currently, but by the time we write this, this will be more like 8 or 10 chapters. So you get to watch this expand and change over time. So what I've done in the pre-writing is really just a starting point so that I can get moving. I know where I want to go with the story, but I've always found that as I'm writing it, it's going to shift and change in interesting and subtle ways. And you're going to get to see that process happen. So there we have it, folks. That's day 0. You get some idea of the pre-writing work that I've done. You know that I'm not going in cold to doing this. I very much am a heavy plotter. I use a lot of outlining. I don't write by the seat of my pants. Hopefully that gives you some ideas on how you can do your own work if you are shadowing the challenge. If you have questions, please feel free to post those in the comments. Also, if you sign up for the mailing list, and there is a link in the comments, then I will give you a copy of this version of the Scrivener document so that you can see the work that we've done.